This is question number 23 from the June 2014 Foundation calculator paper. So you are allowed a calculator for this question. If you have a look in the description of this YouTube video, you'll find a link to the original question and then 3 more questions. So we'll go through the original question part by part, and I'll go through how to get to the answers, and then you're on your own for the 3 extra questions to see if you've understood it. So be warned, it's quite hard to explain, the language of how to explain this type of question is confusing, but actually how to do it is much simpler than the words I'll try and use. So apologies in advance if it sounds confusing, but I'll try and make it as clear as I can. So the first question says, work out the value of 3.1 to the power 4. So this question is all about indices, which means an index is a number, a small number at the top of a normal number. So we've got 3.1 to the power 4, and that means 3.1, not 3.4, 3.1 to the power 4, which means 3.1 times 3.1 times 3.1 times 3.1. So if you've got a number raised to the power of another number, it means the first number times by itself, however many times the small number is. So you could either do this on your calculator, 3.1 times 3.1 times 3.1 times 3.1, but that'd be pretty silly. It would make more sense if I find a calculator here to use the x to the y button. So we do 3.1 and then x to the y. You type in the smaller number to the power 4. So this is the answer. This means 3.1 times 3.1 times 3.1 times 3.1 is 92.3521. That's your answer. 92.3521, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we'll come back to part B, because I think this is the hardest one to explain. It's easy to do, but it's easier to explain if we do these ones first. Okay, so simplify t to the power 8 divided by t to the power 3. Simplify means we can make this equation, this expression, a little bit simpler. So there's a rule: if we're dividing an index by another index, then we take away the bottom number from the top number. So t to the power 8 means t times t times t 8 times, divided by t to the power 3, which means t times t times t. The way to do it is to take 3 away from 8, which leaves us with t to the power 5, and that's your answer for this one. So as long as you remember, if you're dividing an index by another index, you take the bottom one away from the top one. That's your rule. So the opposite of that is what we need for part D. So if it was t to the power 8 times by t to the power 3, our answer would be, instead of taking away 3 from 8, you'd add 3 onto 8, because we're multiplying this time rather than dividing. So t to the power 8 times t to the power 3 is t to the power 11, because you do 8 plus 3. So that's what we use to work out part D. 2 to the power 3 means 2 cubed, 2 times 2 times 2. And then we've got 2 to the power n, and we don't know what n is. It could be 7, it could be 400, it could be absolutely any number, and we've got to work it out. Equals 2 to the power 9. So remember this rule that we've talked about here. If we're multiplying indices, we add the 2 numbers at the top. So 3 plus something is 9. So 3 plus 6 is 9. So let's say 2 to the power 3 times 2 to the power 6 is 2 to the power 9. You can check that on your calculator if you want, but as long as we trust the rule that says if you're multiplying indices, then you just add the 2 numbers, which means n is going to be 6. So our answer is 6. Okay, so let's go back to this one here. This is different from, it's not equal to 2p cubed. The 2 is saying everything in the brackets is going to be squared. So that means p cubed, which is p times p, times by p times p times p. So squared means times a number by itself. So, like we've just had here, if you've got an index times by the same number raised to a different power, you add the 2 numbers together. This is going to be p to the power 6. So our rule here, if you have an index and you raise that index to another power, you then multiply these two numbers. So 3 times 2 is 6, because p cubed here is p times p times p, and then we're squaring it again, so times by itself, and then we're using this rule for multiply to add these two together. So like I said, it sounds very confusing when I try and explain it, but the rules are quite simple if you know how to follow them. So have a look at the link in the description of this video. Work your way through this video again if you want to try and understand how to get to the answers, and then have a go at the 3 extension questions. I hope this has been useful. If anything hasn't made sense, or if you can spot any problems, just leave a comment in the video and I'll try and correct it. Thanks.